Thank you. Hello, and welcome to the Human Show. I'm your host, Stephanie Rierick, and thanks to Cafe CODA for having us every month and being such a staple of this wonderful neighborhood. Thank you for being here. And today, our topic is, well, it's much ado about a lot of things. We're the talk of the town. And so first I'm going to interview Dean Loomis. We're going to talk about the Tree Lane and Rethke Drive permanent supported housing projects, what went awry, what people have been saying, how we could do better. Then we'll hear from Resurrect, a expanded music set, and then Alan Ruff on Palestine, power, propaganda, and peace. So thank you. Some hot topics. All right, Dean.
We on here?
Yes, you're on. So can you just tell us who you are, how you've come to be sitting on this stage addressing this topic we're about to dive into?
I first started getting involved in housing issues in 1972 in Chicago, New York, Milwaukee, different places like that. Moved here and I began working as an outreach worker and then took over a housing program called Housing Initiative. So I've been working with issues of housing and homelessness in Madison for close to 30 years. So I know more than people should. Homelessness is not something that you like. It's not good, and I'm going to start by explaining a very, very brief Homeless 101. And I'll probably say something to you that maybe you hadn't thought about, but once you do hear it and start thinking about it, you'll know, holy shit, he's really right. And the first thing I'm going to tell you is that homelessness is a fatal condition. It kills you. Should I take it? Okay. Homelessness is also not caused by mental illness or alcohol or drug addiction or abuse. Those two sad human conditions are certainly determining factors in someone becoming homelessness, but they're not the cause of homelessness. There's only number one major cause of homelessness, and if you've been reading the papers lately, you probably saw all over the headlines. It is an affordable housing crisis. That's what causes homelessness. Could be for a lot of reasons. It could be that someone's mental illness or alcohol and drug involvement takes over. And we know people that have done that. Some of you might have experienced some of that, where it takes over. And unless you get some treatment, and unless you get a handle on it, that monkey that people carry on their backs takes over. It makes people look at the sky and see a whole different color. It makes people stop whatever is the most reasonable thing to do and do the most unreasonable thing, the most irrational thing. And at that point, we have to be very aggressive in providing more mental health services and alcohol and drug treatment places. So we know about those issues, and those are the solutions to mental illness and alcohol and drug issues. If it gets to that point where it's so out of control, people make very irrational decisions. They chase the drug, chase the demon, that wherever they're hearing a lot of mental illnesses, with especially schizophrenic with the paranoia traits, make people run and hide. They want to get away, and then you have to go get them. The other thing to remember is that I really wanted you to notice is that most of the majority of the people that are homeless are not the ones you see all the time, not the ones laying on the ground or in tents or in the shelters or on the corners, or might hit you up for some money. Most of the people that are homeless go to our schools. Kids are the highest number of homeless folks in our country, and a lot of reasons for that. Catastrophic illness hits a family; they lose their job. Medical care system in this country is what it is. There's costs that build up. One of the number one reasons for someone losing their homes is an unpayable medical bill. a medical expense caused by a catastrophic illness, and bingo, you're out. So that's kind of like 101. Now, homelessness being a fatal condition is, especially if it's over a period of time, it literally takes off years at the end of your life. Average age of someone who has been homeless, usually 10 to 20 years less than average. So homelessness from that kind of perspective that's just not a cause. To me, what that represents is that we're allowing a social condition to literally kill people. So those are pretty frightening and dismal types of experiences that I've seen and tried to address in the work that I did. By providing permanent housing for folks, we eliminate the whole one big thing that causes a lot of stress in someone's life. A permanent place to live where someone can go and call home. In an unusual and interesting phenomena that I saw, that a lot of people that came out of long-time homelessness, you'd think, oh man, what a relief, I finally got a place where I can stay. But there's a transition that goes on in people's heads and people's bodies. They're not used to it. And particularly if you've been living outside for a long time, you never really get a good night's sleep. You're always worried of what's going to happen. So many people have been attacked. There's all kinds of untreated PTSD that goes along with whatever other mental illness you're carrying. And people, sometimes it takes, I worked with people that took them a year or longer to sleep within 8 feet from the front door. They wouldn't go into the bedrooms that we had or something like that. And I realized that this was their escape route. They had to be close to a way to get out and run. So in a lot of ways, that hiding I was talking about, people still hide even when they know they have a permanent place to live. So very, very, very difficult to try to deal with all this. But it is fixable. You can solve all this stuff. It starts with a philosophical flip. In our country, everything is a deal that you got to make with somebody. Everything. To get some Medicare, you got to make a deal with an insurance company. We don't have health care for all in this country. We don't have a system where this one-payer government-sponsored systems. The ones we do work pretty good. Medicaid works pretty good. And you get Medicaid if you're not at retirement age and you get Social Security disability or social supplemental income. If someone who can't work anymore and didn't reach the level of 67 where you can retire, then you get Medicaid. That's a good one. If you're a veteran and qualify, because not every vet does, you can get VA services. That's a good one. When you reach retirement age after you've worked, and you have to work enough quarters and get some Social Security money coming in, and then you get Medicare. And all those have different things attached to it. So as opposed to having just one healthcare system guaranteed by the government where here's the services, you got to pay a little bit, and people that are working paying into it, we don't have that system. We always got to make a deal, just like education. It really isn't free, we pay a lot for it. And that doesn't work. So housing is also not free. Now when you philosophically flip that around and say, okay, wait, housing really should be a social need. We should support this. It should be a right. So when you say, well, housing is a right, and begin to put your head around that way and say, well, when you have rights, then it should be guaranteed, and we have a government that's supposed to ensure our rights and protect our rights. So what happens is then it turns into the policymakers, and that's where policymakers have to decide if it's a right or not. Some might say it is, but then when you present a program that attached a lot of money to, they say, well, we think it's a right, but I don't think it's that much of a right. They'll come up with something that'll say, well, I don't know about that. You know? But if it's a right, it should be guaranteed, right? Yeah. And if we have a government that's supposed to protect our rights, government should have housing for folks. And we shouldn't allow this condition to continue. We're one of the few countries that there's homeless people everywhere. Because of the conditions I talked about earlier. Mental illness take over, alcohol and drugs will take over. There are homeless folks, but it's not nearly as bad as it is here. We have way too many, and it's growing. Now, when I talked about the families, number one reason where families get homeless is several. Catastrophic illness, loss of a job, domestic abuses, it plays into that, and we do have some programs around that. So the philosophy that began to, people, at least in the field, began to say, well, housing is a right, let's figure out how to get people into housing. So about 30 years ago already, this housing first thing that we talked about, the articles in the paper, Medicines First, big housing first programs, it only came around 10 years ago. The thing's been around 30 years. The program I ran, my friend Mike Bassford, who worked with me, who's here today, who's now the state interagency, director of the State Interagency Council on Homelessness. We had a housing first program, and then after we knew what it was and started explaining, I said, well, it's more like housing first-ish. And because every community can do it the way you want to, because there's a real laid out plan about what housing first means, and then you implement it the way you can. So our program, when HUD came out with the money and said, well, you have to move towards housing first, well, we looked at it and said, you know, we're pretty close to doing all that already. Take someone who's mentally ill, bring them into subsidized housing, move them in there the day you meet them, and then wrap services around them to address all their issues that they needed. Yes, well, we were doing that. Lots of times we weren't supposed to do that. We were supposed to verify everything, and we do, but we had the apartments sitting empty. It's winter. You're afraid to go to the shelters because sometimes people don't like the shelters. So, just go ahead. We'll move you in, and we'll figure out the paperwork later. Big deal. It worked, and that's how Housing First can work. It can literally take a guy and say, "Come on, I got a place. I got you. Give me your name to fill out. Here's the paperwork. Got it, you know, and then stay here tonight. And we'll come back tomorrow and work this all out as we go along." So that's what Housing First-ish was. That's how we did it, and we're very successful at that. Housed a lot of people, kept them there, worked out really well. So Housing First, I'll give you kind of the basics of that. When you become homeless, there's this system in place that was set up. First you had the shelters. Shelters were all put together all over the place. And every community has them, and a lot of church people get into these things because those are the real righteous, real church people, are the people that actually help people that need housing, help people that need food, help people that need clothes. Those are some of the true Christians that I've worked with, and there are a lot of really cool people that's how they see their Christ, and that's how they do their religion, by doing good things for people, especially the least among us. That comes out of the Bible, I'm pretty sure. So that's what they did. So you set up the shelters, and then you work with people, and then people say, well, then we'll move the people that are housing ready. We'll get a movement to transitional housing. It's a 2-year program, rent support, and we'll hook you up with all these services that you could get to make you not only once you get into housing, be able to sustain it, get some money back in, and coming in and get your health all right. And then after that 2 years, we'll move you to a permanent place. So Housing First came up, started in New York, and they said, well, let's just combine all that into one thing. Let's find a guy in the street. Let's just take him to the house, saying, hey, you just keep coming back here. This is your place. Here's the key, and then we'll work with you to to stabilize you and get you the things you need, and so that you can live a good life. And then at the end of 2 years, you don't have to, this is your home now. You can just stay here. So that's what Housing First is. It was never, let's set up the place, get them in here and say, okay, you had such a hard life, here's your place, and then our job's done, we'll walk away. It was never that, because it won't work. Especially with some of the folks that come in with untreated mental illness, alcohol and drug addicted, or abusing, and then all kinds of terrible things would happen. So you have to make them sign a lease, and then you say, look, you're a tenant now. You got to behave with everybody. You got to follow the norms of what a regular building looks like. Can't have people coming in here all hours of the night, in and out, doing drugs, bringing crime in, doing prostitution, all that kind of stuff. You can't let people come in here and give you something and they can do whatever you want with the building. That happens a lot. If you don't properly manage the facility and work with the folks to say, remember what it was like to be successful? Many can, especially the vets. You see, and so we're going to get you back to that. We're going to get you living in some kind of what I used to call normal life. And there isn't no normal. All of us here live a little bit different. So somewhere in here, just stay somewhere in there. And the ones that get down here and flop in underneath that line and then get back above it, those are the ones that present you the biggest challenges. So you work it. So when soon as they start to dip out of bounds, where a lease gets violated or they're bothering everyone in the whole building, then you immediately wrap a whole bunch of more services around them, starting with a face-to-face intervention by someone who's going to get in their face and say, what do you think you're doing? You can't do this. You're going to lose your housing if you keep this up. And then that same person's got to nose around and say, what's happening here? Is this because of your illness? And of you having an episode here? And so you have to have some really highly trained people to understand the difference. That there was just a choice of bad behavior, which we do, I did, you all probably did at some point in your life too. And then you got slapped around, you got pushed back in, you got back in line. That happens a lot, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's due to the illness. That's where you say, okay, that's where you give them the break and you say, okay, we're going to straighten this out and get back so that you can get back in control of your life. The mental illness is confusing, it's alarming, it's frightening sometimes, and if anyone of you have had struggles with it, you kind of know it can overwhelm you sometimes. So then you have to have some compassion for that, and then you have to know how to deal with that. So you bring in people you know to deal with that, make sure they're getting medications if they're having them, and make sure they get back on track so they can just get back above that line. Now, I've had many people way up here. I've had many people, not a handful, long-time homeless folks, probably not ever going to go back to work full-time or buy a home. But I had a couple that did, and it was really, really a huge thing to see that happen to some folks. But most of the people I'm talking about, close to 900 people that I've worked with, stayed in here somewhere. The hardest ones were always down there. That's all right. Housing First was a legitimate and a program that works. It starts with that philosophical view of that housing is a right, and instead of making them go through hoops and jump through channels and before we give them permanent housing, they have to demonstrate behavior that you and me don't do. You know, to take someone who drinks a little bit or drinks too much and then say, well, before we give you housing, you got to be completely sober. That doesn't make any sense. Who does that? I don't. I'm going to have a drink as soon as I'm done here. Right there. And I was thinking about bringing one up here, but then I might get, then what happens then is the inhibitions go down and I get mad because what's happened with Tree Lane and Rethke is infuriating. It never should have happened. Those two buildings were mayoral-driven projects. The city council supported, got the county board to support, got the county executive support, so all of them are in on this deal. It's a big thing. Using housing first as the method of getting people in, and there's all kinds of ways you can draw these people in. There's a coordinated entry thing where their names get pop on the list, and you get hundreds of names on them. You take the ones at the top and start going down the list. Using strategies of harm reduction. Harm reduction is a case management strategy, which basically says, if you're drinking, and you drink half a case a day, I'm gonna start with you, hey, let's go down to a six-pack. You know, let's just keep it. Come on, let's get it under control. It's controlling you right now. Let's get this under control. Or crack, which is a huge one that causes more problems than alcohol. Well, they both cause a whole lot of problems. They're both bad, but you know, it goes up and down. So you say, okay, it's not like, but to live in this place now, you can't have anything to drink, you have any visitors and old friends you gotta leave behind, and that's the way it's gonna go. And if you don't like it, you lose your house. Nah, that won't work. So harm reduction, very simplified explanation. That's what you do. It makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? You know, just get them under control and just stay in bounds here. And if you bounce up and down here, that's so what. If you respond to being warned, if you respond to saying, hey, cut it out. You're in jeopardy of doing this too often. You're going to lose this housing. And most of them respond. And the cases that they don't, and there are many that I've worked with that it did not work out. If you implement the system properly, what they tell you by their actions over a period of time, when you give them many, many chances, is that they literally cannot live independently. And at that point, you move them on to you help them by moving them out to a more structured setting. If at some point you can determine that they're purposely doing criminal activity in your building and doing it on purpose, well then you move them out and you try to help. And you do, but even then, we at the program that I used to run, we did the extra step. We'd pack them up, move all their stuff into a storage shelter, pay for it for a month, put it under their name, give them the lock and key, and walk them out the door and say, nice try again some other time. Here's your stuff. You're not gonna lose it all, but try again at another time, and maybe you can pull your life together. It wasn't a cool thing to do, but there's two rules when you operate a housing program dealing with housing folks, using housing first strategy, is that two number one priorities are 1A, 1B. Protect the house. That's the first one. As a manager, you protect the house. The second one is you protect the people that live in it. So those two things, you can operate both of those. At one point, if the guy messes up so bad that he's putting not only his housing in jeopardy, but the entire house in jeopardy, then you have an easy decision to make. The solution, that guy's gotta go on to something else. And so that's how it works. So Tree Lane and Rethke. Heartland property, 10 minutes?
Sorry, we got enough.
I want to keep on time. So they were run by Heartland out of Chicago. I knew about them for years. They were excellent. Heartland, before they came to Madison, developed 19 of these properties. 5 in Milwaukee and 2 and the rest in Chicago, and then the 2 here. They knew exactly what they were doing. I went to conferences where they made national presentations. They were really good at this stuff. They came here, and I knew about them right early on. I went to meetings about how they're proposed, what they're going to do. I spoke in favor of them, and I told everyone that came, I said, I'm familiar with these programs, and they work as long as you manage them properly. If they have all the resources they need to run them properly, and they do, you're going to be fine. And I spoke with that, but I did caution them, they have to be run properly. And at first, knowing their background, I feel I'm confident that they could do that. So they built Rethke, and immediately ran into problems. And I would go to meetings about what's going on, and they kept complaining about not enough money for the support services and then they got through some bumps, and then they built Tree Lane, which is a family unit for both Tree Lane. Rescue were set up to work with chronically homeless individuals and families. Individuals at Rescue, families at Tree Lane. And I happened to be on the school board when we were building Tree Lane, and I had all kinds of meetings at our committees where we talked about this new committee. Homeless families are going to come in with a lot of kids. They're all going to go to the same schools, and we've already got a homeless program working in our schools, and we're going to get about 60 kids all going to the same schools that were formerly homeless. So you're going to have to wrap some services over there. They assured me that they did, and they did. But like I said, kids are the number one majority of people that are homeless. So, and they bring a whole bunch of challenges to schools. So that was Tree Lane. I cannot speak too much about what happened over there. I can speak very informatively about Rethke. Homeless individuals, my experience. I had no idea the impact of COVID on their management, but there was funds available that companies could get to pay for the services that COVID problems would cause. And I found, and then Heartland began to, instead of the partnership of property management and supportive services run by the same group, they began to separate. They contracted out the support service, and I found out that Tellurian was going to do that, and I knew the folks at Tellurian, and I called them up and had a little meeting with them, and told them that if they knew what they were getting into, because both these buildings had political spotlights on them. They were mayor-driven. And the city council, they started these things, and they're in the newspaper all the time about anything that bad goes over there. So at the end of the meeting, I had a job. So 2.5 years later, I'm sitting here in front of you after working at Rethke, building up the support service through Tellurian. 2 weeks after starting, I said, my God, the property management is terrible. What in the world are these people thinking? What are they doing? I didn't understand it. I still don't understand it then. So at that point, I learned that Heartland was going to contract out the property management. So I said, great, we'll take it. So I talked to the Tellurian and the president of Tellurian, the CFO, all of them were, I had meetings with them. I said, let's go get this building. We can run it. We can turn this into thing back to what it's supposed to be. I'll stick around long and manage the thing, and we'll be fine. So we tried. And Heartland wanted to contract all of their buildings out to one group, so they hired someone out of Chicago to do it. Property management got worse. Then that group left, and they turned it over to another one. And this 2.5 years later, we tried. I tried for almost 1.5 years to try to get control of that building. They wouldn't even talk to us. City officials was getting pissed at me because I tried to show up at meetings, and then at some point I was told not to come to any more meetings. So Tellurian tried, and they were said, well, no one will talk to us. And the city officials are saying, no one's going to talk to us either. And we can't do anything. So I said, all right, we'll keep building up the support service. In the meantime, property management got worse and worse and worse. An example, if you have a building that's only 9 years old, you have mechanical systems in there. You should put them on a maintenance schedule every year. Go up and check them out. They didn't do any of that. The heating and cooling systems are ruined at Rethke. They work, but they don't work very well. It's going to cost upper six figures to fix the damn things. So that's what happens when you don't do proper property management. And that's property management 101. Simple, easy things you can do. They didn't do lease enforcement, so all kinds of strange things were happening. Similarly, I had some friends that were working in properties in Chicago, in Milwaukee. I just went yesterday to visit a wonderful project in Milwaukee that is also closing up. Well, it got so bad in Milwaukee that there were murders in the building, knifings, all kinds of things. At Tree Lane over the summer, there was a shooting outside of the property, but this one happened right inside. And that's 100% property management issues. So the property management is, Heartland's the villain. They're the ones that had terrible, inept property management at best. Maybe there's some other things that are going on, I don't know, but that's what I can definitely say. At best, property management was pathetic and ruined these two properties. The model of Housing First and the way and the buildings that they had was excellent. There's nothing wrong with that program. If they would have turned it over to Tellurian and we would build that building back up, it'd be a model, it'd be a great example of how you run a building like that with implementing best practices of how to do it, and it would work fine. It did. So some regrets. In my life, I don't regret anything I've done, even the dumb and humiliating things. I made a point of learning from them. What I regret is things I didn't do. So I spent a lot of time talking to the city officials about trying to get control of Rethke. My mistake was not going after the mayors and the city councils and the county executives until too late. I did that right at the end because once the buildings, Heartland literally is a ghost. They don't even exist anymore. They walked away from 21 properties with over 1,000 people living in them that now all that housing in jeopardy. In Madison, it's 105 units total between Rethke and Tree Lane of chronically homeless individuals, and now we're tasked with trying to find somewhere to live when it's really hard to even rent a place for you and me. So we're struggling, we're doing okay, and we'll see by June when we're told that the building will be closed and we have to get out, if we can house them all. I think by April we'll be down to 15, but they're gonna be tough. So what I should have done is put more pressure on the city council and the mayor particularly, and told them, look, these were your babies. You set them up. Doesn't matter if you weren't the mayor that started it and you weren't on the city council. These were mayor and city council driven properties and you're not doing anything. So there was a court process where these buildings, when Heartland walked away in July and turned them over to a receiver. Now that's a legal thing that can happen when no owner shows up, and the way these things were funded with these tax credit, low-income housing tax credit, LIHTC that's called. That's a legal process that you can go through where a receiver can get appointed by a court, and then that guy has full authority to decide what to do. There were groups that approached him. Two of them, I can tell you, some from one, representatives are here today. And I've talked with them about frustrations they have with trying to talk to that receiver about trying to get these buildings, but it's very difficult to work with him. And I don't believe a lot of things he said, but we went to court after a group called the Affordable Housing Action Alliance sent some, I sent a letter with their backing to everybody, all the city council, the mayor, county board, county exec. Told them, you guys are walking, you're not doing a damn thing about these things. Just sort of walk away and let these guys, and let this just happen. When each of you got $3 million in each of these projects, what the hell are you doing? Go to start, there's an opportunity here for you to write a letter and challenge this stuff and get your say in court. So we did that, and we got not a bad deal. The projects as they exist cannot stay, but when you develop properties like this using the LIHTC tax deal, along with it comes a land use restriction agreement. It's part of the deed. It's called a LURA. It says you have to keep this building for a period of at least 15 years, renting to only people at 60% or 30% of median income. Area median income for a single person is about $57,000 a year. So it's 60% of that, which is kind of like a lot of starting entry fees for a lot of folks. Some of our entry-level teachers, first-year teacher, can afford to live in an 80% of median income place. But this is 60. A lot of baristas, a lot of bartenders, people like that. People that work here, 30% of median income is about $30,000 a year. So you have to rent to those folks, and that's what's going to happen. There may be an opportunity to keep some of the folks that were homeless, especially at Rethke, or someone who's getting SSI or SSDI, usually around $950 a month, and they pay 30% of their income if they have subsidized with Section 8 support. So what I should have done is gotten earlier after the county and city, and have them call Heartland people here, have them get in a room and bully the hell out of them. A mayor can do that stuff. He said, we got money in this thing, what are you people doing? We want this thing, and then maybe they could have organized me with some other nonprofits to sit there with Harlan and the mayor and the appropriate city council people. Said, you work with them, give that damn building to these people, and they'll work it out. That's what we should have done. So I'm kind of disappointed that when we elect people, and I think this is kind of fits in with Steph's philosophy of the whole human program she's trying to run, is that it's really up to us. I'm disappointed in myself that I didn't go earlier to the council and the mayor and tell them, you got a huge problem here. You say you're all housing affordable championships, well, or champions. You're just sitting back here and reacting. If you want to be a champion and promote affordable housing, you have to be proactive. And we're losing 105 of these things are really hard to house people. So what are you going to do about this? Why did you wait so long? Why didn't you get into it last year when you knew Harlan was not doing well? So I should have got back and politically got more after the politicians, not so much after the city officials who were there with me all along. They were really good people. They struggled, and they're going, they won't even talk to us anymore. And we can't do nothing about it because they own the building, not us. So the politics of this is we got something that's okay, but what these programs are offering now is, right now, is over with, and we got to find places for these folks to live.
Other than, so we're running out of our time here. So other than owning it next time, what would you like to see happen now? Is there a
Yeah. What I'm really alarmed at is all kinds of articles then float in the paper of opinion pieces about people sitting in offices who study data and say, oh yeah, housing first don't work anymore. It's all that problem. You got to get these people all housing ready to get moved. It's wrong. And already there's quotes in the paper where we're not going to fund projects like this anymore. And that's wrong too. They work if they run right.
You know, it's also really similar to the defund the police, or the commitment that the city and county have to things like restorative justice and you know, diverting from the criminal system, but then not funding adequately what actually keeps communities safe, what actually helps people get and stay out of trouble. And it's easy to give something lip service, but when you follow the money, you see what the priorities are. And we have the problem that you mentioned everything's a deal. I usually say it like everything's a racket. Like, so we have an economy and a society where we don't accept that everything's a racket, and whoever is better at the game is gonna do okay.
All kinds of people are affordable housing champions. All kinds of people are restorative justice champions. And then when you offer them a proposal that's got this much money attached to it, it says, well, I don't think I'm that much of a champion. I don't, you know, because so when you begin to, if you accept it philosophically but don't act on it practically, you're giving into fear of change. Because what we know, what we're doing over a period of time, it doesn't work. In any type of capitalist business deal, there's an acceptable loss. And when you're dealing with housing or Medicare, medical health care, the acceptable loss is people's lives and housing. People going homeless without. That's an acceptable loss when you look at it as a business deal. When you look at it as rights, healthcare and housing, you cannot accept an acceptable loss like that. So the philosophical switch has to happen, and then the practical funding of reprioritizing of how we administer what would be considered a right, healthcare and housing in this case. The choices becomes easy as to where you put your money. If you're in the middle there going, well, we want to do that, but we got to stick with the old deal because that still works for most of us. It doesn't work for all of us though, so switching it over will ensure that it works for all of us. And we end homeless, not just build $15 million shelters, folks. It's a wonderful facility we're going to do, and I love shelters because it's a survival program. But survival programs are only there for a short period of time until you survive, and then you get permanent. So the solution is the permanent stuff. And yeah, we got to have shelters, and we got to be able to quickly house people once someone falls into homelessness. But with more programs available, it would work.
Awesome. Thank you so much. My next guest, Dean Loomis. We can do better. All right, Ferris, will you come up now? Thanks. So my next guest is Ferris, and speaking of the emergency shelters, that's where we met, where Ferris works. Welcome. So we're gonna keep our talking brief so you can get to music. But can you just tell us who you are and yeah, if you want to share any reflections before you start?
The previous discussion was very close to the work that I do as manager of the men's homeless shelter for Porch Light. So I definitely share in camaraderie with Dean's struggles in supporting people experiencing homelessness, or as a new term from a person experiencing homelessness, people who are houseless, as there is an extreme stigma on the term homeless, you know, as there's a lot of putting things in the box in, you know, Western culture and stuff. I was born in New York. I'm first generation American. My family is from Lebanon, though my mom is Armenian Palestinian, and my dad is Syrian Lebanese. Basically Levant, you know, before 1925 when the French and British drew lines in the sand to form countries and nations. Working at the shelter is truly eye-opening. Since I became manager in 2022, I've really tried to create a space that fulfills the mission of human rights, which I have a master's in, so I'm a firm believer in. Just giving people respect and dignity and letting them know that at their lowest point of rock bottom, that they are still capable of being resilient and getting up and finding greater happiness. And you know, it's truly an aspect of how people would call it, especially in the Christian community, looking at homelessness and such as God's work. But it is indeed God's work, because it's not just giving people housing and thinking that's going to solve the problem. Dean really did a good job in outlining all of the different struggling aspects and factors that go into creating this system where we have to have people who do not have shelter and do not have a place of their own. You know, mental health, substance abuse is a big part of it. I have lived experience of both, and I truly think that creating an atmosphere of love, respect, dignity for every single human being going through the struggle is a deep part of the work we do. It's not just give a person a meal and a bed and, you know, just, you know, let them exist at the shelter. A big part of what I'm trying to build going towards the permanent shelter is an atmosphere where people get the tools they need to heal themselves. So I'm doing that through several programs and courses that I'm offering at the shelter, and partnering with different organizations as well. But yeah, it's a difficult job when, you know, you're very empathetic and compassionate. You need to learn how to really protect your energy because some of the stories I've heard, I won't even repeat the kind of trauma that some of these men had to suffer, and I won't even I don't want to fathom or even imagine the kind of suffering that people go through in the richest country in the world. Woo! Right? You know, but at the same time, you know, just meeting people where they're at, like, you know, that's a big part of the work. Like, you know, you can't change anyone in this life, but you can give them the tools to change themselves. You can kind of guide them, you can influence them, but ultimately that change has to come from within. I've understood that as an addict, as a man, as an artist, as a human being, and most certainly as a poet, because I am a poet at heart, and you know, I try to, you know, understand reality and life in a more, on a deeper sense. You know, there's only love and service and certain spiritual principles and the depth and heights of those lessons that we take with us in the afterlife. And, you know, depending how deeply you absorb the message of those principles, such as appreciation, acceptance, compassion, empathy, you know, all of these things, the depth of those principles that we learn is ultimately what the soul takes with us afterwards. So I definitely run the shelter, you know, with a spiritual sense, because I do believe in, as a Lebanese, we would call it a jau, you know, the vibe of the space, the energy, the mood, the feel, and just giving people who have hit rock bottom the opportunity to seek something greater for themselves, and being united as a community in their mutual suffering and turning that towards healing, I think is true alchemy. And yeah, I don't know what else to say about myself and the topic, but I have a lot to say on the topic coming afterwards with Alan about the genocide going on in Palestine. Put simply, that's what it is. My grandpa was Palestinian. May he rest in God's arms. Allah yarhamu. And you know, it's not just a struggle to do with any one people or one group or any social construct that might divide us, but simply it's a human issue. It's if we allow the powers that be to inflict such suffering on the people just before our eyes, then in that sense, what's stopping them from having us be next? And you know, I'm not gonna say human history is all flowers and butterflies, but at what point do people unite under the banner of humanity, under the banner of we're all sentient beings, we're all capable of joy, love, pain, compassion, and awareness of a greater height and a reality that we can all imagine within the core of our minds, and yet somehow within the system seems unreachable. But I think as a poet and as a self-proclaimed revolutionary, as you'll see in my music, that is achievable. And one day I hope that we are united as human beings, all with a system of rights, inherent worth and value for being born a human being, and therefore getting the basic rights of food, education that isn't indoctrination, shelter, the right to choose our own destinies. And I can go into that and the political policies and kind of community and stuff. Everyone might imagine it a different way, but I think it's when all of us unite under love and compassion for each other, where trade and currency becomes our roles in society. They call, Arabs and a lot of Eastern cultures savages, uncivilized, but truly I think the natives had it right in the beginning, and now, maybe we'll have to return to a life. I hope Armageddon isn't the thing that teaches us. I hope nuclear war and a state of chaos isn't what we'll have to teach people, because in that so much life, which is precious, is going to have to be lost in the midst of trying to create that world. But the more people awaken to the fact and in their daily life choose love over division, then maybe we can get closer to that. And that's the main message that I have in my music. So, unity and the divinity of the human spirit.
Let's hear some. Thank you.
Won't hurt you, but you asked me to. That last fight, samurai blades forged by elders, slow and patient from the deepest forges. Human strength, stone civilizations, cold steel from Earth's basics. Face it, this anger cut through everything around us. Slice, slash, stare through eyes to discuss. Thunder skies I trust, where human nature travels, spirits move with gusts. Forever winds of lust, trapped in the smoky room with belly dancers swinging hips like pendulums. Devils arise within those flaring as their horns and lips are bleeding to sin. Human hunger to win, arise out of hell, reach for powerful orbs of fate's wish, gothically grin. I dip down to our ancients, celebration of vampirish wolves, biting masks like facelifts. Gracious appreciation for suffering I ache with, I'm breathing. Whisper soon I listen. Can we turn the beat up? I'm just trying to change God to will adapt. It takes steps to heaven as a human, but I am fated. Empty every perception of beauty I ever had. Took a grasp from the fruit is a magical grab. Pulling on roots of trees fully grown, truly shown. When reality's pictures are built free upon thrones, I lay to rest within chambers I crawl in. Spirits stolen, the uprightness presence. An Indian chief after the Holocaust of his people gaze through darkest essence of a world that is already captured. Fields of vegetables become raptured, burned by capitalist actors who have made competitive strides, only making zombies alive. So every day I must die. We just will move to survive. Even if a sniper bullet lays a target on me, I'll fry. I swam as sharks bit off flesh from the skin. Thrive in chaos, I am king. Only slaves can consider wishes. My brother Brooke told me we fishermen. Patience for fishes that carry taste of stories born from existence. So how far will you go? New story. Does your vision and purpose surpass a limit? What limits? Feel that burn right there. Arise. Arise for the awakening. See that the darkness and the light are the same. Arise for the awakening. See that the darkness and the light are the same. Golden shapes, enlisted diamond crystals. This oracle sinful, like I've come back from the dead. Shook my mother's hands, hold a kiss to save this world is my only wish. What was resurrected shall be reborn. Sexual lust rotting with a crown of thorns. As I take revenge for desires forever torn. Rise in the morn to light up this breath. I was called Jesus' last bite because envisioning the Last Supper and the conversations that Christ had with his apostles, you know, the last bite that he ever had. And Arabs just love food, so, you know. But anyways, perspective, please. It's part of culture, you know. Yo. Trust nobody, fuck this world, invest in my temple. Taking care of my mom's girl, family built by blood, crest mental. Is it essential to go through all these dangerous runs? Beautiful sparkle teenagers releasing chambers of guns upon their own master. Slain disaster as I travel through this chaos of tears and laughter. Open books of adventure, travel and capture new chapters of victories after. Mysteries plasma, how poets bleed across books, changing their soul. Soul of the world arises from cold. Logical pictures, apostles get richer. From this water I change the wine poured out from pictures. Lifted by scriptures, forever this energy will run its course. Freedom's a source of green and blue wind, screaming with force, claiming remorse. Kid, you'll be shining like the sun, brighter than day one with innocent guilt. Judgment sentence I built upon game of determination. Hunger's basic, prisoners just gotta embrace it. Staring at the same bars is never wasted. Mythicist of this feeling, the bolder who place it. Gifts that I'm graced with. Gifts that I'm graced with. Live through every moment and seek for your soul. Spiritual growth, homie. Underground in this industry like Takeo sliding across the Nightingale floor to assassinate Yada Saddam. Kill that Shogun. Yo. Shed a tear with those betraying their own people. Souls that been conquered by evil with love only for themselves. Selfish intentions run across course like ninja perceptions. Plain audible sound, I got a war like Uzui Kenshin. Pursuing redirections, prison by choices while being lost in this madness. Cost of being savage, suffering while expressing love to his fullest. Pain inside people keep releasing their emotional bullets. Absorb from all that I've given. Swords that cut through intricate living. Lord of realms walking in stimulant prisons. But in the end, you're forgiven, my God. Cause as I lay wounds from these scars, you're clearer in my sight. For what I must fight, cause I trust in his light. Yo man, I'm realer than Hercules' might. As these lions start to fight, king of the jungle, a prophet must rise. Look deep into his eyes, watch the sun and moon cry around earth, cycle and turn. A like it would burn, change into a beast. Don't join them, yet prepare this raging feast. Occasion of peace, that only one soul can touch. When you look into the mirror of beauty, perceive layers of rock. Chaotic, corrupt, in this reality stuck. Laws of nature when the universe could ever really give up. But yo, Lord, I'm just learning and grinding, burning and finding what is behind him. What is behind him?
Once I stood on the block, loose cracks, produced stacks. I cooked up and cut small pieces to get my loot back.
Thank you. That was Tori's challenge. It was inspired by a book about Japanese samurai ninja clan guy. It's a fantasy book, and the shogun is basically the system, and those who sit like the clan leader of the shogun, who's like the king of the Japanese samurai. That's why I say kill that shogun, because the system is what we need to destroy in order to unite. So. Reborn. Reality.
20.
Lost conqueror, free in dreamscape. Run destiny lines of spirit, lead faith. Visions, golden paths within formless ocean waves. Feel this ambitionly straight, holding wrath, yo, I must have seen fate. Close my gates is gold forsaken. Ghosts elated body, eternal feels with souls awakened. Rage that was released, revealing more unconscious beast. Lost to a monster's feast. Pray to God for peace, so more rain. Lord in court darkness, rising war flames. Finding fingers, passages, thoughts trigger massacres. Taking shots, empty star timbers. Now struggles for these savages like Lazarus. I be flying to heaven, designing this hell while my soulmate signing a wedding. While it's already no remains is one blade. I be shooting for eternity. Same bullets on this journey, serenade. Serenade. You might get for what you want answer. Soul decision, awareness of all within. Only forgiveness will resolve these sins. Confessions like scriptures, side memories, embody the nature, space, and time. Control vibes like grace is mine. We told create Tracy sign. So heavenly chosen, I embrace the spine. Third eyes enlightened with sights of order. From fights to slaughter, kill thoughts to dying over. Reborn a mental soldier with sworn an oath into determination. Survive apocalypse, live rituals, reincarnation. Heroes, tragedies, travel realms and fantasy. Accept the past of defeat when I reach happily. Strategies ever vigilant, watching as this galaxy change while chaos and rage. When the age reach past the unity, written in heavenly rights, ride eternally with souls, warriors, and feel that light. Which temple? Which temple I pray? Willpower, mountain itself, constellations around the planets are felt. Divine lightning strikes with consciousness unleashed from life forces. Beauty sources, birth of lotus, flower petals, flowing courses, freedom at last, clarity and emptiness. I'm deadliest when temptations are last. Lose their feeling, been taken from living and breathing. Bloodiest seasons, I can't change loveliest reasons. Glorious leading, bleeding over what was sacrificed. Keep it so you'll need a rare fucking master life. Wherever we believe, we can see how we grasp and die. For every soul decision, prayers be held. Our Lord knows many, sword knows plenty, but what remains? What was nothing, no old for claim. I'm a risen soul in flames, termination to reborn with name. Born the same. Just gotta drink some water because I just recently got over the flu, so yes, if that's all right. But yeah, so the next song is called God's Perfect Angel. I wrote when I was going through a mental health episode and was deeply delusional, believing that I had God's eye, that I could summon archangels, thank you, bro, and also had perfect alignment of my chakras and all that. So, you know, in true hip-hop culture fashion, it's flexing, but on a spiritual level. So, and I collaborated with indigenous artist named Ella Katrina.
Sorry, this wild is just taking forever to buffer. Get to the side of that. Bear with me here.
Don't care too much, don't care too much. Don't care too much, don't care too much. Don't care too much if you materially broke. As long as you spiritually woke, we work what you think is dope types of deranged. Rearrange your vision, son.
Yeah.
See anew and life is just begun.
Ferrari Lamborghini, man, I'm driving the whip. It's armor flexing, red flash riding the drip. Slide with that drip, alhamdulillah, thank God it's a gift. If I die through a strip like these naked stars, leave all possessions like nature's laws. Read blood leaking like a slave for riches of heaven's kingdom. Only the beast is ours. One day the devil will lose all evil and become a blessing. Your soul got a purpose to release its essence. Empty life, truth, reality as it challenged me. If you a demon, only a darker spirit can pull out angel from their being. 666 take 7 breaths before a warrior put his faith in the decision. After one breath, we call it freedom or wisdom. My aura armor shine infinite colors like a diamond when it glistens. Destiny's godly bristle.
Life, this gift really tight. And spit it, all the wits, all the fits. Do you get what kind of light I sit in this throne? Thorns adorn, a rose so sweet, make me bleed. Come to my teeth and feed.
Use it for service. Bow our heads in prayers. The levels in the woven realms are flowing. Prince of darkness, hellfire is living. Eating fear and destruction for breakfast. Like love and creation. This out from my necklace. We are holy men, now mortal like finesse. God's will defeats, free will with vengeance. I see kills, murderers who suffer to bleed redemption. Merciful, compassionate, oh giving the lies. Eyes are everywhere and everything. Souls thrown to conscious, behold the king. Ritualistic, my last supper in every moment fed by flying symbols. Source is infinite. Heaven's sword is depicted by laws, spiritual tools, slash blades. So many Jews to you, I'm the eternal slave. Humble, dig my own grave, for death is life to our soul's fate. One truth is absolute for eternity. I am perfection, that means there's no change. Manifest waves, universe.
Awaken to your depths, deep breaths. Sip if you need to, but don't sweep through. Keep a tight ship. There's love in you. 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 You know it's true.
So I was gonna be selfish, but the last one I'll let the audience decide. So me and my friend Zay and Los, we're actually gonna be hopefully perform. Los right there, yup. We're gonna hopefully be performing at Mad Lit. So like Zay, you know, he's like my big brother in music and everything, and he's just like, yo, when you're making a hype set, keep it up hype. But I realize a lot of this group is not in their earliest of youth. I mean, you know, just had to throw it out there. But you know, you're as young as you feel, right? Except when your knees start cracking, I'm already there. But but yeah, I'll let y'all decide if you want to go more hype with the next song, Spiritual Warfare, or if I go a bit slower with more of a message. I mean, both have a message regardless, but the song God's Eye is Mine. So, God's Eye is Mine or spiritual? Let's go up? All right, let's go up then. All right. Damn right then.
I just have to get your email here. I don't know if you shared access of that file with me.
It's the damn right one. That's what the beat is called.
Okay, all right, I got that.
Spiritual warfare. Damn right. world, that's damn right. All my warriors rise like gods, yeah, that's damn right. Burn the governments down, yo, now it's on sight. Order turn to chaos, chaos turn to order, damn right. Divine as a soldier to a martyr, God's light. Reap what you sow, hell to heaven, one day must fight. If your soul's strong enough, then you know it's damn right. Unite humanity in your heart if you feel damn right. Bloody hands as I turn another of history's page. Cover evil from my senses, pierce darkness, mysterious ways. Prayers to the Most High. Rage fills in my soul eternal after my ghosts fly. Protect my family, no we won't die. Revenge and justice is the same when the Lord cries. Freedom is kill all enemies sent to us. Burst forever with the love we lust. In God we trust. Leave evil with scars and forgiveness, no it's us. Healed by death, now mighty life is clear. Your third eye rises higher, love strikes through fear. Compassion, I see you, all I do is wipe your tears. Your suffering is my own, we are one soul, the creator knows we here. Revolutions cross the world, that's damn right. All my warriors rise like gods, yeah, that's damn right. Burn the governments down, yo, now it's on sight. Order turn to chaos, chaos turn to order, damn right. Divine as a soldier to a martyr, God's light. Reap what you sow, hell to heaven, one day must fight. If your soul's strong enough, then you know it's damn right. Unite humanity in your heart if you feel damn right. If I die tomorrow, know my soul filled with sorrow. I found inner peace, cause time is borrowed. Release blood till I'm empty and hollow. Put one in the chamber, cock back, let it flame. Hell rise with the singer. In the afterlife, if I let my God within decide, then all the evil on this earth will lay down and die. But the universe destroys to create and repeat. So I leave it to the Most High to find the truth that I see. Faith complete, infinity rides up in my heart. No beginning or end, so where does it spark? I am honored to be part of this journey. The will to love overcomes, forever connected to you. Life is precious, my son. Revolutions cross the world, that's damn right. All my warriors rise like gods, yeah, that's damn right. Burn the governments down, yo, now it's on sight. Order turn to chaos, chaos turn to order, damn right. Divine as a soldier to a martyr, God's light. Reap what you sow, hell to heaven, one day must fight. If your soul's strong enough, then you know it's damn right. Unite humanity in your heart if you feel damn right. Thank you. So, for the last song, I want to call up my brothers Zay and Los.
Y'all don't think too harsh on me, I'm a little nervous.
It's his first show on stage, but like he's a prodigy, so he probably freestyle better than me. I won't admit it anywhere else.
Yeah. Can y'all hear me on this? Yeah. Okay.
If you can turn the beat up a bit this time.
Yes, real loud.
Yeah.
Yo, trying to pray, man.
It seems like it's open today. Why is that? It's supposed to be.
I don't know, maybe not for me.
Maybe not for me either.
But let's see if we can break those gates open.
Yo.
Reap the devil grim, see the levels of sin. God will forever win on both shoulders, mandolin gin. Whispering, let the shadows embrace your soul movements. Let them in to torture your mind's movements. Music to my willing ears. Dive deep into the abyss, killing all my fears, leaking out bloody tears. Free falling, transforming into the demon. I knew I'd become nothing new under the sun. Angels from every angle tell me to run. but my essence of my spirit is only a gun. Blue scopes aiming for the stars that will make my sacrifice. Bonded to a purpose, my soul chose to stream of life before I was earthless. For all the murder suffering from attachments to evil, the creators saw darkness and he mastered our people. Go to wars and battles, that's unspeakable. Silent secrets are kept, life to death, death to life. Once the universe wept, close on Sunday, I reach God one day. Armageddon is prophecy, some say. Raise my spirit, must pray to the Almighty. Oh, only to you will I give my soul.
In the beginning, Eve tricked Adam to biting the apple. Now imagine if that had never happened. I don't think this world would be so wrapped in greed, hate, envy, lust,
jealousy.
Now wouldn't it be so lovely to see everybody flourish? Feed the children that's malnourished. Have the courage to find out what's your life purpose. Your discernment's a disservice. It seems someone to close the curtains in this for certain. Clearing my path
from all these serpents.
Bust them sermons that
sit up in them churches.
Next to a pervert who don't deserve God's service. That's when I first noticed that souls was for purchase. If we the consumers, then tell me who's the merchants. How did they earn it? And why do they deserve it? See the devil lurking and searching and you've been perfect. Now it's just me versus these scriptures and verses. Curing generational curses right there. Subscribe to what's prescribed by the doctors and nurses. That was set forth by the serpent. You might end up in them hearses and find that the church is.
Close on Sunday, I reach God one day. Armageddon is prophecy, some say. Raise my spirit, must pray to the Almighty. Oh, only to you will I give my soul.
I'm no Satanist, atheist.
Jesus says, lead the strip, lead the bit.
Hello?
Yeah, it's good. With a brick, be the honor. And I haven't even started with the crazy shit. Like cocas and hang up. But wait a minute, I'm not finished. Yup, hold it up.
I can hear it.
Don't move, think the brain, fuck your thoughts.
I forgot. I apologize, y'all. I got too nervous.
Alright, it's cool.
You started over?
Should we try it one more time? Y'all alright with that? We got time?
I gotta hold it up. Thank y'all for being so patient with me. I'm so sorry. I didn't know if y'all could hear me. Oh, okay, because I couldn't hear myself. I'm sorry. That was my
Just
fault.
talk to them a little bit, just get comfortable on the microphone for a second.
You ready?
The mic.
I have to eat the mic?
No.
That's sus, Paul.
Don't do like this, hold it straight up.
Straight up?
Ready? Your whole hand around this and not
Ready?
Alright.
It does.
You ready, Lowe's?
I got you.
Alright, yeah, if you can repeat the song, let's go one more time. This time you back me up then, so you get used to it.
Yeah, that beginning was improv too, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
You made that up on the spot.
Just like most of the verses we recorded, flowing.
Yo.
Breathe the devil, grim, see the levels of sin. Garble forever win on both shoulders, metal and chin. Whispering, let the shadows embrace your soul ruthless. Let them in to torture your mind's movement. Music to my willing ears. Dive deep into the abyss, killing all my fears, leaking out bloody tears. Free falling, transforming into the demon I knew I'd become. Nothing new under the sun. Angels from every angle telling me to run. But my essence of my spirit is only a gun. Look through scopes, aiming for the stars that will make my sacrifice. Bonded to a purpose, my soul chose to stream of life. for our surface. For all the murder, suffering, all the attachments and evil. The creator saw darkness,
Any
they
master
mastered our
of
people. Go to wars and battles, that's unspeakable. Silent secrets are kept. Life to death, death to life. Once the universe wept. Close on Sunday, I'll reach God one day. Armageddon is prophecy, some say. Raise my spirit, must pray to the Almighty All. Only to you will I give my soul.
In the beginning, Eve tricked Adam to biting the apple.
Now imagine
if that had never happened. I don't think this world to be so wrapped in greed, hate, envy, lust, jealousy. Now wouldn't it be so lovely to see everybody flourish? Feed the children that's malnourished. Have the courage to find out what's your life purpose. Your discernment's a disservice. It seems someone to close the curtains and it's for certain. Clearing my path from
all these serpents.
Plus them sermons that
Sit up in them churches.
next to a pervert who don't deserve God's service. That's when I first noticed
That
that
souls was for purchase.
if we the consumers, then tell me who's the merchants. How did they earn it?
And why the fuck do they deserve it? They
I see
don't.
the devil lurking and searching and you fit perfect. Now it's just me versus these scriptures and verses. Curing generational curses, writing in cursive. Unsubscribe to what's prescribed by them doctors and nurses. Set forth the system that was set forth by the serpent. You might end up in the hearses or find that the church is.
Close on Sunday, I'll reach God one day.
Say.
Armageddon is prophecy, some say. Raise my spirit, must pray to the Almighty All. Only to you will I give my soul.
No Satanist, the atheist, bomber G's make the system. In the scripts and even bits, I beat the beat, in the bitch, snip the code, so the wall, fuck the shit, slash your face, with a brick, beat my demons, leave the kids, all the tits. So in the same teacher, I took the shit, and I haven't even started on the crazy shit. I'm a sister, this, twisted, dumb fuck who likes to go fuck in the back of the dumb trucks. With no books, I don't fuck for the throat up, then throw up to they choke up.
Hold up,
Cheeks,
hold up.
mouth is on shut, parents is phoned up, seen you rolled up, start chainsaw at
Do like cold, cause then I just hang up.
But wait a minute, I'm not finished. Kid a tub full of piss. Drown a minute, now I'm finished. I was kidding. Take the eye, lost a vision. Don't move.
Take the brain,
take
fuck.
the brain. Fuck your thought. I was blistered, need repent. But my miss.
Bring hell on above on my
Opposites, who my competition? I'll wait.
but I'm too impatient.
First place, gunpowder in the masturbation with beats.
Laceration.
After saying I'm the spawn of Satan, most so weak. Even God be shaking his head like
Like he
he
had
had
it
again.
again.
Every time that he grabs the pen.
Darkness starts to descend.
The person feeling in the wind begins. Outpour of madness.
Imagine a dragon, rampage,
Turning everything to ashes.
ashes.
Dust to dust, but none of this would have never happened if the church was never.
Close on Sunday, I'll reach God one day. Armageddon is prophecy, some say. Raise my spirit, must pray to the Almighty All.
Yeah.
Only to you will I give my soul.
Thank y'all for letting me stand.
Thank you, everyone.
Y'all played my first time, so enjoy it.
Well, thank you so much. Thanks, guys. Can you say how to pronounce the name of your... What's your album? What's the name?
So, I have a mixtape on Bandcamp called Into the Abyss, dedicated to one of my friends who passed in Lebanon, and my other saga of God's Eye is Mine, which is 3 parts, taking according to Hindu mythology. The first part is destruction, like Shiva. Second one is preservation, beyond good and evil, which is a mix of Vishnu and Nietzsche. And then the third part, creation, like Brahma. So yeah, still recording, still releasing music, and the last 2 were unreleased, so y'all the first that heard it, so
I'm going to bring up Alan Ruff now. We're running a bit late on the show today, and hope you can stick around. We're going to have a brief conversation that would be too brief even if we spent the whole time on it, because it's a huge topic. But we're going to be hearing from historian Alan Ruff, also host of A Public Affair And you can hear much more from him on WORT 89.9 FM. So, welcome.
Hear me?
So we're gonna dive right in, and I think we'll assume that people here are somewhat familiar with what's happening, but would like to hear about you and your personal journey. Yes, your personal life perspective on what's happening in Palestine as it relates to you.
I'm a, how do you follow that? How do you guys, I don't know how to follow that. I'm a Jewish anti-Zionist. I'm the latter because I'm the former. In 1972, in the spring of 1972, I was living in what was then West Berlin in Germany, and I was down and out. A woman that I was crazy about at the time, as I put it later on, when my money ran out, so did she.
Oh.
And as I said, I was down and out, and I wrote to a friend of mine who was then living in Israel. He said, come here. So I hitchhiked from West Berlin all the way south to the boot heel of Italy, hopped a ferry from Italy to Greece to Athens. With the last money I had, basically, I got on a plane from Athens to Tel Aviv. And on the plane, I was informed that it was the first night of Passover. And I was still, in my early 20s, imbued with all this mythology that, wow, I was going to Israel on the first night of Passover. And I got off the plane and went into customs, and there were these two strapping, big, Sabra, Israeli-born customs guys, soldiers. And the first thing they asked me, after looking at me the way I was, said, how much money do you have? And I said, I have very little. I'm going to stay with a friend of mine in such and such a place. And they said, you can't come in. I said, what? You can't come in. If we let you in, you'll probably become a ward of the Israeli state, and you can't come in. I said, but all my life I've been told, you can't come in. I said, well, at least let me make a call, because after all, I can't get on another plane because I'm broke. And I can't stay here in the terminal forever. That was long before that Tom Hanks movie, you know. And one of the border guards, one of these strapping Israeli soldiers, said something to me that hit me like a lightning bolt. He said, look, everyone is Jewish here. Jewish means nothing. And it took me a while to sink in that I was dealing with this state, right? This modern, highly technologized, very efficient killing machine at that point already, and that was nothing then. And that began my turnaround on that particular question. Interestingly, by my early 20s, I was on the right track. All other questions, right? Against the war in Vietnam, for civil, the whole panoply. But on that one, it took me a long, long time. I prepared some notes. Like I said, I don't know how to follow what came before. But the brother resurrect. He used a word that I want to use. That I went back and I looked at the origins of genocide. Right? The word came very recently in any historical sense. It was coined in 1943-44 by a Polish-born Jewish attorney, Raphael Lemkin, to describe what until then was a crime without a name. A crime without a name. As adopted by the UN General Assembly in December of '44, it read, the Genocide Convention defined genocide as any one of a series of, quote, acts committed with intent to destroy in whole or in part a national, ethnical, racial, or religious group as such. Number one, by killing members of the group. Number two, by causing serious bodily or mental harm to members of the group. Number three, by deliberately inflicting on the group conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction in whole or in part. Number four, imposing measures intended to prevent births within the group. And finally, forcibly transferring children of the group to another group. Every one of these is taking place as I speak and as you listen. It blows me away. It blows me away because I came up in American post-Jewish or Nazi Holocaust existence. I think of my grandmother. I'm gonna just tell a little story. That was a John Tushin, by the way. When I was about 7 years old, my parents went away for a weekend, and my mother's mother, was staying with us. And in those years, in the 50s, several of us here in this crowd will remember, there was a Sunday night program called The 20th Century, narrated by Walter Cronkite. And it happened to be that evening about the Holocaust. And there was this footage on the tube, black and white tube, and I was sitting in front of the tube. And I had already seen this. I was already inured of this footage. And I was wondering what else is on. And I reached up on the dial in front of the TV and I checked the other stations. You know, there was none of this, there was this. And I changed the station. And my grandmother, sitting behind me on the sofa, said, "Put that back." And I turned, and tears were going down her cheeks. That's where I learned the history. That's where I began to learn the history. Zionism is a nation-building project. It's a settler colonial nation-building project, which means, in actuality, that in whatever land you look at where settler colonialism took place, the indigenous don't exist. Right? One of the number one myths of the Zionist project has been a land without a people for a people without a land. That's a lie. And it's a lie that swirls and swirls and swirls right down to the moment, you know, Dean, you were talking about housing crisis. And I'm sitting there thinking about Gaza, right? Gaza, where somewhere around 2.2, depending on the numbers, 2.2, 2.4 million people are basically being herded into ever smaller and smaller enclosed places, where the housing stock it'll be decades if the people of Gaza are allowed to remain, which is still up in the air, that's still playing out. Will take decades to maybe rebuild something, while you have Donald Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, saying the other day, we got to get these people out of here and clean this out because it's great shorefront property. The thing that I think about most as a U.S. historian is that the United States of America, meaning our money, our wealth, our everything, is part of that genocide. Essential to that genocide. That the weapons and the media and the propaganda mills that crank out more mythologies, more lies, more complicity, it's right here in this room. Turn on whatever you turn on to. And there's a constant bombardment. I don't watch mainstream anything. I go online and I find my sources because it's a reproduction of a murderous history. I'm going to stop there because I'm tired and I've heard so much. Well, maybe what I'd like to do is maybe take a couple questions or comments, because talking about this with Stephanie, in its inception, it was going to be like a interview format, would take some questions and so on. But I'm wondering what you are thinking about, or what you're curious about. There's this conflation of Jewish American identity with Zionism, so that if you're not Zionist, you must be anti-Semitic. That gets collapsed every moment. And those of us, and I want to say, I should have said at the head, from Jump Street, there's some of my allies and comrades in Jewish Voice for Peace are here. So, and I want to give a shout out to them. Because we, as anti-Zionist Jews, are in the forefront of so much, secondarily to the Palestinians themselves. So maybe a question, maybe just have a little dialogue for Stefania.
Hi, I don't have a question, and let the other people. I wonder if everybody know about the Uninstructed campaign, and which is the effort like they did in Michigan and in Minnesota, only there it was called Uncommitted. And here we are urging people to consider to vote this way, which is a way to protest Biden's support and funding of what is happening in Gaza. And I have flyers. Please ask me if you want one. Thank you.
I can't see.
Andrea.
Andrea,
Yeah. I have two questions. They're big, and I hope you can begin to answer them. How do we, as people here of good faith, get food, aid, and medicine in, number one? Number two, what do we do about the family, for instance, that I have in Israel, who have been fighting for just causes every bit as much as you have, every bit as much as anybody you can think of. They risk their lives time and again to fight for justice, and they have no other country but Israel. So what are we going to do about them and their safety, and what are we going to do about getting food, aid, and medicine into Gaza? And dump it all in your lap.
Yeah, go ahead.
On relief, on food aid, understand that part of the offensive has been the defamation of UN and other agencies, right? Out of thousands upon thousands of people that worked on the ground in Gaza to bring aid through UNHCR, it made huge news that they've identified six. I was a mathematician, can't you tell? Identified 6 Palestinians as possibly among those who broke out on October 7th. There's now the talk, of course, of building this wharf or pier on the coast to bring in ships with aid and so on. But reports have already come out that they're going to use that wharf, the pier, to take anyone who wants to volunteer to go out for Palestine. I take heart from those Israelis that are comrades, because they are up against it severely, especially now. People ask me what are my sources? Where do I go to? I go to Israeli historians who have demystified, demythologized the whole project. Right? Ilan Pape, Avi Shleim, others' names not coming to me now, but I would seek them out and so on. In my estimation, Israel's not going anywhere, right? That whole mythology of 47, 48, poor little besieged Israel, attacked from all sides, going to push, if they weren't so valiant, and if the United States and others didn't arm them, if the Czechoslovakia didn't arm them, they would have been pushed into the sea. Nonsense. They were the strongest military force then, and by far now the 5th strongest military in the world. Tiny Israel. You know, we have to give applause and support in any way we can to those who are now threatened by what is the most reactionary right wing, to all extents, and fascist coalition government. People, I can't see the lights too well, but usually when I say this, people, you can see a head jerk. Benjamin Netanyahu is a moderating force in that coalition. One of the people in the coalition government, Minister of Defense, I believe, is a Kahanist, Meir Kahane, some of you will recall, the Jewish zealot. These people are in the government. So the liberal Israelis and Israelis of the left are hemmed in by what happened on October 7th provided these types, this right wing, with something they had been hoping for forever. The pretext of getting the